Namaskar again, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday meditation. And as we spoke yesterday, we started talking about what we practice, we become. This is very, very important in aspects of spirituality. And I want to share with you a little bit of what I've prepared for you today. This is very important to start recognizing how the mind operates, how we operate, how important meditation is, and the mindset that we need to have in meditation. This is also me explaining how my path in meditation has been in this more than 12 years of practice, and why I meditate the way that I do and why I teach the way that I do the meditation. So just as a small glimpse, I was actually very reluctant to begin meditation. However, I was reluctant but extremely interested because I wanted to meditate the right way. And the more I read about it, the more I heard people talk about it, I realized that not everyone is actually meditating. Most people think they're meditating. And by saying thinking meditating, you're automatically not meditating. The truth is that we are all naturally meditative. And there are important techniques that can be used to achieve meditation with certain sounds, with certain qualities, etc., etc. But we should also always make the distinction that the technique is not the meditation. And that meditation is not just mental observation or mental reflection. That has its place in the world. But meditation is something. And as we may have mentioned in the past, the mind is crucial for the meditation journey. The mind is crucial for your journey on the earth. And if you do not know your mind, if you do not know what the mind is, you will be unable to navigate the world appropriately, and you will be unable to navigate yourself appropriately. You won't be able to navigate your internal world. I am very strict and very firm in these aspects of the meditation. Something in me has always told me that we need to work with the basics of meditation and mind understanding many, many, many times to be able to navigate properly. I practiced myself. I was my own experiment, and I practiced myself in this way, and I saw amazing results. But not only that, I also saw those who didn't want to practice this way, who developed a sign of arrogance, and they went very deeply into a meditation that they were not ready for. And I've seen these people come back to me time and time again, narrating the very difficult experiences that they had. You can think of it this way. If you want to navigate space, you need a good spaceship. If your spaceship is not very good, then you're bound to run into trouble, or you may get lost. And like I said, I've seen that happen many, many times. So let's understand something about the mind today. They say, however your mind is, that's how the world will be. And that can sound extremely holistic, esoterical, spiritual, but there is a reality to this. And it is very important to mention the reality, otherwise people will stay in the mind, will stay in the clouds, will stay in the spirit, which is not favorable for what we want to do. In this context, and you can read what I wrote here as I'm talking about it. In this context, the mind is the internal world, right? You can feel that, you know that, because your mind is not outside. Your mind is inside. You don't know where your mind is. So if I ask you now, for example, if I ask you now, tell me where your mind is, where is it? Is it here inside the head? Somewhere inside the brain? They've already opened the brain and the head in many, many people, and they found no mind. They found a pituitary gland. They find a hippocampus. They find the parts of the brain that connect to the body. They find the emotional part of the brain. But the mind itself, that essence, is not there. The soul is not there. The self is not there. So the mind belongs to the internal world. It is ether. It is subtle. It is not physical. One very important thing that we have talked at length about is that the mind behaves in patterns. And these patterns can be good or bad. A lot of people already have good tendencies with them. A lot of people need to train to develop certain good tendencies. That depends on each person's nature. You may also have bad tendencies, or you may develop bad tendencies. But it's not the tendency what matters. What matters is the action that is repeated. So here I've drawn, for example, a single event. A single event is just a shape, a form. It has some relevance, but no more than its actual appearance. When that event is repeated over and over and over again, then it becomes a pattern, right? So I can take that single event and create a whole pattern, and now it means something else. Now it's a symbol. Now I can create a different kind of relationship with this. It has more presence. Now, the tricky part is that we don't need to go to that single event over and over and over again. For example, the way a trauma is experienced is that it is usually a single event, but it is repeated in the mind. Even though it only happened once, it is repeated inside in the internal world. So if anything that you do is repeated over and over and over and over again, it'll become a pattern because your mind behaves in patterns. That is literally how the mind works. Like I said, we've talked at length about this, and you can watch all the recordings to refresh yourself. But even if you don't watch that, if you stop and you observe your mind carefully, you will notice that your mind works in patterns. You need to observe this. You need to become aware of it. So a pattern is an event that repeats itself over and over and over again. A pattern in tiles, a pattern in drawing and art, a pattern in fabric, a pattern on social behavior. It's an event that happens over and over and over again, and therefore it can be predicted. So the mind works in patterns, behaviors, repetitions. We say in Mexico, we have an expression: one nail will bring the other nail out. You need to use one nail to remove another nail. If you have one nail stuck in a piece of wood, you need to come with another nail so you can bring it out. We actually usually say this when someone's gone through a breakup. We tell them they need to find someone. So one person will help them overcome the other one. But the mind actually works that way. If you have tendencies, behaviors, patterns in your mind that you don't want, that are unfavorable, then you need to create a new series of behaviors and patterns that will support you in a new direction. Perhaps you're not even aware of the behaviors and the patterns of your mind, and then you need to start observing what are the patterns and behaviors of your mind. So this is why I said yesterday, what you practice, you become. And sure enough, you are a spiritual person. You come from the source, you come from God, you have a soul. So how come you're not that being? If that is true, right, if all the scriptures say that you come from God, that you come from that spiritual source, why isn't it true? Why can't I, manifest whatever I want or create whatever I want? Why do I encounter challenges and limitations? The only explanation is because there are limiting behaviors, patterns in the mind that you yourself need to break down which requires surrendering the ego, which requires deep observation, so that you can connect with that actual source of who you are. So even though you are that soul, you need to practice to bring that soul quality into the world. Even though you come from love, from the light, from the source, you need to practice so that you become that. Unless you're already that. If you're already that, amazing. You already are that in so many dimensions of your life. You have kindness, you have mental capacity, you have love, you have a lot of good qualities. But in whatever way you are limiting your life experience, that's where you're not using your soul capabilities. And that's where you need to practice. That's where you need to work to bring them out. So what we practice, we become. Yoga and meditation give you benefits, but these are secondary. They are meant to show you something else. When you are doing your meditation, when you're doing your yoga, like I said yesterday, you need to observe what is happening. If you allow yourself to be distracted over and over and over again, that's what you're practicing, and that's what you will become. If you do not know what's distracting you, you need to pay more attention and try to notice what type of thought is the one that is capturing your attention over and over again so easily. I promise you, if you observe carefully, you will be able to see that there is a tendency, a pattern. That's why journaling is so good. Today I got distracted in meditation because I saw a light and I thought it was a spiritual light. And then I said to myself, I am happy to see the spiritual light, but I am not worthy yet. And then next week you meditate again and you realize you wrote the same thing again. A pattern is emerging. But if you never observe your mind, you will never be able to tell. And whatever you practice constantly, you become. So in whatever way you're getting distracted in yoga and meditation, that is exactly the same thing that you're doing out there. So whatever challenge you have in your life, during yoga and meditation, that's where its head, the tip of the iceberg, comes out. So you need to be open and be receptive, be observant. Yoga teaches us that. If you practice excellence and responsibility, that's what you will become. You exert your willpower and say, I will not be distracted. And as soon as you see the distraction come, you breathe strongly and you come back to the present and you stay firmly in the present and you say to yourself, nothing will take me away from the presence. Then that's what you will become. If you create that in meditation, which is a training ground for the mind, you will make that mind like that. So that way you can make that statement true. As is the mind, so is the world. As above, so below, as below, so above. You can make this true, but you need to take the responsibility of observing your own mind. So how to do this, I insist, is present moment awareness. It's the first step. And it's so dull, it's so boring, it's not exciting. There's no fireworks in present moment awareness, at least not yet. It is difficult to practice the most basic thing. In yoga, it would be almost like I make you stand in one posture for 45 minutes out of the entire class. But it is the training ground. It is the place where you can become familiar and observe. That's why I work so hard in giving you present moment awareness. It is incredibly important. And if you develop a strong relationship with your presence, with your present moment awareness, you will be well on your way to become a very strong meditator. I've seen this time and time again with the people who can truly be present, how they grow into powerful meditators. Not so much because you can see them sitting and you see a light on them. That's the light from the sun, that's the light from the wind. But because of the way they act in life, because of the productivity, because of their approach to problem solving, their approach to their emotions, their approach to anything and everything. So they have this beautiful, beautiful possibility ahead of them. And on the other hand, when we encounter people who do not practice this talent, this latent talent of being present, and their attention gets taken away so easily. Just because of not practicing, then that's when I've encountered that they face these challenges more and more. So there's a beautiful possibility of better problem solving, better approach to the mind, just by what we call PMA, present moment awareness. And even though present moment awareness is such a big deal, it's such a big practice, it's also the easiest. That's why it's the first thing I teach. And that's why I promise you, if you practice just this, PMA, present moment awareness, and you implement that in your daily life over and over and over again, takes some repetition, right? If you do this, you'll notice your whole relationship with your mind, what we call the internal world, changes. And that is a very real possibility to do. Making sense so far? So, good. Now, how to practice the present moment awareness? Of course, we have the 3-step process. We've talked about this at length as well. I'll repeat the 3-step process today. But remember that the main thing about the 3-step process for present moment awareness is the breath. That's why I always say you cannot absorb the breath that is gone, and you cannot absorb the breath that hasn't come yet. Even in this moment, if I speak about the breath, your attention slightly goes towards the breath. The same way that if I say, think of a pink elephant, even if you try to resist and say, no, I don't want to think about a pink elephant, an influence has happened. An influence in the internal world. So in the same way, as I'm speaking now and I talk about your breath, perhaps some of you were breathing too shallow. And I often see that when I talk about the breath, sometimes people gasp for air, as if they were coming out of a pool, as if they were coming out of the ocean. Like I said, when you consciously observe your breath, you are guaranteed to be in the present. It's logical. I cannot observe the breath that isn't here yet. I cannot observe the breath that isn't gone. So if you bring the attention to what the breath is doing in this moment, you're in present moment awareness. And that's the beginning of everything. Whether it's your inhalation, your exhalation, whether your breath is long or short, deep or shallow, doesn't matter if a nostril is blocked, doesn't matter if you cannot use your nose to breathe and you need to use the mouth only. So long as you observe that natural process of the breath, you are guaranteed to be in the present. So I want us to explore that. And I want us to take this next level of responsibility and awareness with our mind. So let's come into our meditation now. I'm going to pause the whiteboard here. So coming to a meditative posture, which basically just means any comfortable position, any posture at all that you're comfortable. You don't need to sit in any special way. You don't need to sit in lotus. Just any posture that feels comfortable for you and where you can sit for a few moments, for a few minutes. And close your eyes. Make sure your posture is comfortable so that the body does not distract you. That also means that if you feel any tension in your body, you can adjust your body to remove the tension. Maybe you need to move in some way. Maybe you need a back support. Whatever you need, it's perfectly fine. Make the body comfortable. we begin seeking that present moment awareness through that easy 3-step process. Step number 1, you've already done it, is to make the body comfortable. Become aware of your body and make the body comfortable. Step number 2 is to become aware of your face, your facial expression, and relax the face. You can adjust your face too if you need, such as moving your lips, your tongue, your jaw. Make some expressions and relax your face. Perhaps even a gentle smile comes about. And the third step is to become aware of your breath. If it is possible for you, breathe only through your nose. And just notice the air coming in and the air coming out. And you may notice as we try to keep the attention on the breath that there are stimuli which may capture the attention. And this is what we call a distraction. But it is important to know that there is nothing wrong with that, and there is nothing wrong with you. Distractions are part of the process. It is natural. The world around you, the external world, is still active, it's still there. Your 5 senses are still there. The internal world, your mind and emotions, are still there. So even if for a moment you stop observing the breath, know that it is okay. But as soon as you realize that the attention has gone elsewhere, bring it back to the breath. Bring it back to the breath. And the distractions may keep coming. You may even hear the voice inside, the voice of the mind, saying things or asking questions. And that is absolutely fine. But in this moment, all we are doing is observing the breath, not listening to the mind. When you are present, observing your breath, the mind is there with you and sits in peace. You must be patient. And anytime that you become distracted, there is no need to judge that. It's fine to notice how easily we become distracted. But there is no need for judgment, no need for haste. Lovingly, patiently, bring back the attention to the breath and keep the attention with the breath. And you will be able to increase your duration of concentration. You become stronger in your present moment awareness. And distractions are natural parts of the process. There is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with you. and you observe that gravity of the mind trying to take the attention away and resist to remain present. With time, you will be able to notice the patterns, the ways in which the mind is constantly trying to grab your attention. It will always try through a pattern, always through a pattern. But take shelter in the present. Observe the breath, only the breath, and nothing but the breath. Notice the sense of quiet and peace that comes as you extend your ability to remain present. That experience of timelessness, spaciousness, lightness. Notice the air passing through the nostril, even the physical sensation of the air caressing the skin around your nostrils. The air coming in through the nose, the inside of the nose, and through its channels until it disappears from the body. It becomes one with the body. And as you exhale, notice the slightly more humid and warmer air coming out. Once again, when you inhale, notice the sensation of the air passing through the skin around your nostrils. Even the skin above the mouth, going through those channels, going towards the lungs and then disappearing in the body. And as you exhale, that breath seemingly coming out of nowhere, passing through its channels, through the inside of the nose and towards the outside. You can notice the expansion in the body with the inhalation in the belly and the chest. And that release and relaxation that comes when you exhale and you let it go. You can begin taking deeper breaths, allowing your belly and your chest to expand more and more when you inhale. And when you exhale, let all the air out by bringing your belly button slightly in. Make sure you have no breath inside. Inhale deeply and exhale completely. Deeper and deeper breaths. Filling your lungs with fresh oxygen that is then distributed to every corner of your body. This oxygen making your body healthy. Keep the eyes closed for just a little while longer. As we enter the end of our meditation today, reminding ourselves of this beautiful possibility of being present, opening up to what may unfold for us throughout the day and throughout the week. Remembering that as the mind behaves, so we will too behave. And seeking to take bigger awareness, a greater responsibility for the mind. Bring the palms of the hands together in front of your chest and rub the palms of the hands until they are nice and warm, and cover your closed eyes for a moment. Feel your hands, feel your touch. Make sure to feel the warmth of your hands. And without removing your hands, gently with a few soft blinks, open your eyes. Then slowly you can remove your hands. So now I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to write down or reflect on how your meditation was this morning. You can write down on a journal, you can write it down on your phone, or you can just reflect how you felt, and then we can talk about it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us in today's meditation, and everyone watching the recording as well. I wrote a little bit more of what I want to share, but I'll probably reuse this whiteboard in another one of our meditations. In the meantime, how was your meditation today? What you practice, you will become. So during today's meditation, what did you set yourself to become? How was your meditation today? Who would like to share? Hmm?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Claire.
Hi. Okay, so I can start if you guys want. I felt very peaceful in the beginning of the meditation, like in the first part. I felt like I was navigating on the sea, and the sea was very like quiet and peaceful. There was a nice feeling. At the end of the meditation, I don't know if I had like a feeling of a new discovery. Something with the eyes or the sight. But I felt like there was a distraction. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Distraction, right? Yeah, that's the word. Something capturing my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized when I came out, and then I was like, okay, no, back to the breath. And it was like when I was in this, in the mind, I realized like the sight was, it was like darker. And then when I came back to the breath, it was like, it kind of like changed. It was like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
it's like something, I don't know, with the sight that changed. That was very, very interesting. And I think it's a new
Mm-hmm.
story. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. Mm.
Thank you, Claire. Well, we can mention something about this. Can I close the screen now? Can I close the whiteboard? You all got it? Okay. So there are many reasons why when we are meditating, we may feel like the light about it is different. There are so many visualization exercises, incredibly interesting. But one of the main things is that we project what we visualize. So what that means is that just like when you go to the cinema, the mind has that ability to project as if it had a light or a filter of lights that goes towards the screen. So when we become present, it's almost like what I wrote just a moment ago, like it's a blank canvas, a white screen. You don't know what movie is going to play yet. But through your willpower, you can choose, oh, I want to see a Western film. So there's like more willpower, more authority into what you want to see. When we are not in the presence, when we are already caught in a pattern of the mind, when we are already caught in the emotion, when you've already gone down that path, you will realize that it's almost like a movie's already playing. Have you realized when you go to sleep and you start dreaming, it always is as if the dream had started before you got there? You don't get there. It's like, okay, I'm dreaming now, and then the pink elephant comes, and then your high school teacher comes, and then your parents come, and they look like children. You're like, what does this all mean? No, this is already happening, and then you suddenly appear. So the behaviors of the mind are like these recurring movies, recurring stories that are already playing, and the quality of light that they have is one that is not the same as the quality of that presence. Why? Because when you go to the cinema and the movie's not done yet, sorry, the movie hasn't started yet, they put the lights on and the screen is blank. You will notice this when you practice present moment awareness, that you have the ability to consciously choose, I want to see this, I want to see that. And sometimes it's hard. When you're already in a state, it's hard. But if you think about it, that's very childish, because when we are children, we are convinced that we want something, and we want it for ourselves. We want to keep it, but when we are told that we are not that, or that it doesn't belong to us, we say in Mexico, we say berrinche, you know, we have a fit. But if you think about it, also as children, as dramatic as we may be for 1 hour about it, we get over it. When we are adults, we don't do that as much. We have lost some mental flexibility somewhere along the way. That's why it's quote unquote easy to distract a child, right? You can tell them, oh, no, but we're not going to the movies. We're going for ice cream instead. And they're like, oh, okay. But if you tell that to yourself, or if you tell that to an adult, sorry, boss, I'm going to quit my job today, but do you want to go for ice cream later? No, that's probably not going to work. Because we have more stakes, right? We have a different mental behavior. So the quality of what happens in that mental behavior is, I'm going to use the word lower, as it were, than when you are in presence. When you're in presence, you get to choose. That's why being present makes you very detached and allows you to get over things easier. You feel something, oh, I'm over it. It doesn't have to mean anything. It only means something as long as you make it mean something. I hope that makes sense. So yes, there is a brighter quality when you are in the presence. There is a different quality about the space. Today is also Alan's first meditation here with us. So welcome, Alan. Paulina as well is her first meditation. So you are not required to speak if you don't want to. It is something that I do at the end of meditation. If you feel like sharing today or at any other point. And while I do encourage you to share your experiences because they will nourish the group, you are also not, this is your first time for both of you, so you don't need to do it. Those who are watching the recording don't have the advantage of being live, so they message me privately or in the WhatsApp group. So you don't need to say anything today, and I know it was your first meditation. So if you want to say something, please go ahead, but know that you are not put in the spot. So it's up to you. Just to say also today, you got a glimpse of what meditation can be. We think sometimes of meditation as something very cosmic and all these things. It's cleaning the inside. It's mental management. So whenever you find any trouble inside, meditate. And you will notice, I promise you. In fact, I may upload this meditation to the YouTube channel. It'll always be there, right? So whenever you face a challenge, you can never be like, oh, Mars, I'm facing some challenge. No, you first go to do the meditation. And then you will notice that your attitude about the challenge changes. Do you want to share something about your meditation today?
I think it's been like the last few weeks where I know we've been doing it for like maybe almost a year. But it only feels like now it's like starting to play. It's so crazy. Yeah. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Meditation is timeless. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's beginning after beginning after beginning. I myself sat to meditate yesterday after chanting for a bit, and I see all new things. So meditation is always fresh. At the very least, once we learn to position ourselves in that presence and then we go deep, you will never be bored because you end up always feeling something, seeing something new. So meditation feels like beginning and beginning and beginning. Last thing I want to say is this quality that we have, everyone. We call yoga the path of willpower as well, the path of intelligence in action, the path of responsibility. So I would encourage you all to practice this. Make that effort to come into the present moment awareness and apply that in your life. It has done so much for me and so much for so many people, which is why we teach it so constantly. You will notice that, like I said, it's like a blank screen, a blank whiteboard, a blank canvas. You have the ability to think of whatever you want. And the mind is so powerful. It's not a bad thing. It's powerful, but we need to develop a relationship with it. And developing that relationship with the mind is our responsibility. So practice this. Put it to the test and apply. What would I like to think about today? Even if at the beginning it's only imagination or visualization, that's already a step in a very, very good direction. That's why so many people talk about affirmations and visualizations, which I want to do more of with you next week. So I encourage you to seek that power in your mind, and I encourage you to practice the present moment awareness. 3-step process, right? Body, face, and breath is the easiest thing. And that is all I want to say for now. One last thing. As a reminder, during September, we have a few things. Of course, we can do the sessions, and in your membership, it's included. You can bring another person. You also have readings, Vedic astrology readings in September are all available for free. It's only donation based, which is, whichever resonates. And also this weekend, we are repeating the stress workshops, which are not workshops where you will become stressed, but rather workshops where we will talk about what stress is, the most latest scientific research on stress, especially in the female anatomy, and the latest scientific research on practices that help us reduce and manage stress directed to women. So these workshops are repeating. You can find all the information on social media. Spanish is Friday evening. English is Saturday morning. So all of that is coming up. So keep an eye out for that, and feel free to invite any women in your life that could benefit from these workshops, because we are going to talk about it. We're going to teach techniques to help you. And also at the end of the workshop, you get a gift. So that is all for now. Feel free to send me any questions or messages privately or in the chat. Thank you all so much for your practice and your meditation this morning. I hope you have a beautiful day. And as always, be healthy, be happy, and absolutely don't worry.